Hey there. Right, this is Jess T on countryradio.uk, and I have this afternoon the absolutely gorgeous Brittany McLamb. Brittany, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys? How are you?
Doing really, really good. Thank you. Really, really good. So we finally get to meet. We've been scheduling this for a little while, and here we are. We want to find out all about you. Let's start from the very beginning. So you are from Salemburg in North Carolina.
That's right. Yes.
Tell me about growing up, Brittany.
Well, Salemburg is a tiny town. It's less than 500 people. Has one stoplight. Very rural. I grew up singing in church, and the first time that I ever sang out in public was my little elementary school decided to have a pageant, and I didn't know what a pageant was. All I knew is they were going to be giving the winner a crown, and I wanted a crown. So
every princess wants a crown.
Right? Yeah. So I remember going home one day, and we were sitting at the table eating dinner, and I told my mom, I was like, we're having a pageant at school, and I want to be in it. And she's like, really? Okay. And so we went through the whole process, getting a dress. The actual pageant part itself didn't have a talent section. It was just like a beauty, and then it had a questionnaire on stage. I was in it, I think, a couple of years before I kind of got the hang of it, and I won on my third try. And to give up your title for the next year, you have to do a talent. And it was at that point that the song "If You're Not In It for Love" by Shania Twain was popular. It was out on the radio, and we were driving down the road, and I loved that song. I loved the harmonies that's in it. And so I told my mom, I was like, I want to sing this. And she's like, what? Because I'd never sang out other than just in church. I'd never sang out anywhere. And I'd always taken dance lessons. So she's like, you don't want to dance? And I'm like, no, I want to sing this song. And she was a little caught off guard, but she's like, okay, whatever you want to do. And so I got my routine ready. I had the boots, the cowgirl shirt with like the fringe and the blue jean skirt and cowboy hat, and went on stage and performed. And it was at that moment that I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. The crowd went crazy because no one ever knew me as a singer. I'd never sung before, like I said, on a public stage like that before.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I caught the bug.
That'll do it.
Yeah, it was from that point forward, I think, was like a pivotal moment in my life. I started recording in a studio, demos, like demo songs, made demo CDs. Mm-hmm. I started entering every talent competition, talent show, pageant that was around the area, right on up until I went to college. And after leaving college, that's when I decided it's time. I'm going to make the move to Nashville.
And you did. I know because growing up, your family used to sing in gospel groups. Is that right? So I know that you sing in church. You sang in church, but you've got a musical family as well.
I do. Yeah. I have cousins who are in a gospel group, and they would travel around, North Carolina and perform. And there used to be this thing called an expo that would be in our town, a neighboring town, and they would perform there. And several times when I was younger, they would let me come up on stage and sing a song with them or while they were up there. And to this day, they do still perform, and they perform in our church. And so whenever I travel back home, when we go to church on Sunday, I'll sing with them on Sundays. Because it's like, now I'm a big girl. Now, you got to play the instruments and sing harmonies with me, and it's fun. It's like family.
Absolutely. So I know that you were on some TV shows when you were younger as well. That was a bit of an introduction for you as well. Tell us about that.
So I joined a talent agency when I was, I think I was a freshman in high school. So I was maybe 15.
Yeah.
And they were awesome. They sent me a couple of times to Nashville before I actually moved here. So one of the shows that I was on was the Jimmy Snow Gospel Hours. So it was a show that taped here in Nashville. And I sang, I believe it was a Leanne Rimes song, Light in Your Eyes or You Light Up My Life, one of those two. It's been a while. So I sang that there. And then in North Carolina, there was one called Arthur Smith's Carolina Calling. And they would do like an interview with the artist and then perform a song. And so I think that one I sang You Light Up My Life by Leanne Rimes. So yeah, those were interesting experiences, especially at that age. I don't know that I actually really understood that it was going to be on TV. I just kind of saw it as, oh, I get to sing again.
It's fun, isn't it? Don't
Yeah.
think the implications of, or the vastness of what you're doing and how far you go out there.
Yeah. So I think it definitely gave me some good experience for,
It did. And like you say, after you graduated, you went to move over to Nashville. Why? What was the reason behind that? I imagine music, but it's quite a big thing to do. Yes.
Well, I knew someone here, and I had known her since I was in middle school. My mom, she worked for, which is kind of random, it was a plastic tubing company. And the guy who owned the company, he owned Nashville Nightlife, which is a very historic venue here in Nashville. And when he found out that my mom had a daughter that sang, he was like, oh, well, I need to introduce you to Patsy Bell Cox. She represents artists and she brings them to our venue, and you guys should meet. And so once I had, we started talking via email and phone and that sort of thing. And but then once I joined the talent agency and I was making trips to Nashville, I started meeting up with her. And she's like industry vet, at this point she was in her later years of life, but she lived with Tanya Tucker. She was Garth Brooks's right-hand lady. She wrote books about all these people. These were close people to her. Loretta Lynn was close to her. So imagine like the wealth of knowledge, just moving to Nashville and having someone to tell you all these backstories and, how the industry works.
That's really, it's almost lucky. I always say luck has a huge part to play, and it does. And we always say, in the industry, it's not what you know, it's who you know as well, and who you meet along the journey. So Meeting someone like that in such an early stage of your musical career is that brought, I'm sure, a huge richness to your experience.
Oh yes, I'm definitely thankful, for her and her insight. Unfortunately, she passed away several years ago. But while she was here, I called her my Nashville mama because, my mom was back home and all I had was her when I first moved here. I didn't know anyone else.
That's what I was going to say. Where you came on your own.
Yes.
Make your fortune, essentially.
That's right.
Absolutely. So I know that there was the Billy Block radio show. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, she actually got me hooked up with Billy. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us either. But when he was here during the early years of me living in Nashville, he had a show that he would have once a week called the Billy Block Show. And it was amazing. Like they need that back here, currently. He was a big ambassador for unsigned artists, Americana music, country music. And so she introduced me to him and I became his production assistant. So basically, it's a TV show. So they had to have all these forms, release forms. So what I would do is when all the artists would come to perform, I'd have to go and get all those forms signed from them. Yeah. But what this really helped me is in the sense that I got to meet musicians, guitar players, harmony singers. And I was new, so I didn't know anybody and I needed a band. I needed people to write with. And so it kind of opened that door. And that's where I met the guys that first started playing for me. That's where I met the guys that I first started writing with. And so, that was definitely a big stepping stone, I think, in my early days here. And it was awesome because some of those same artists, they're still out there playing, and some have been signed, some have, been solo artists, some have joined other bands. And so it's kind of cool to be like, I knew you way back before.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah. When you met, it's like seeing, a child that you grew up with, isn't it? And it's like, I knew you then, and look at you now. It's fantastic to be able to witness that journey. And I'm sure they feel the same about you too.
Yeah. I'm just not signed yet.
Yet. And so following on from that, anyway, your first EP came out in 2013, self-titled EP.
Yes.
How did that go for you?
Well, that was a long process. At that point, I was still new to writing, and I hadn't written that many songs, but I knew I wanted to record something. So Kathy, she got me in touch with several of the publishing companies here in town. And so I was able to go meet with them. I listened to some songs from their catalogs, and she also had a really good friend of hers named Deanna Bryant. She wrote the song that Keith Urban sang, "Stupid Boy."
My favorite. That's my favorite.
Yeah. And so, right. So she sent me a bunch of songs, and some of those songs are on that EP, and some that I got from the publishing company are on that EP. And so, and two that I wrote are on that EP. But that was a long process, because what we did was I went to a studio. I have a friend that I ended up weird. He's from the same area I'm from, but I didn't know he lived here. I didn't even know he was in music. He's a producer. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, come on in the studio and, we'll record some music." So we recorded, and I had someone come in and sing background vocals, but what we ended up doing is re-recording all my vocals and re-recording all the background vocals. So it was just a long, drawn out process, but I loved how it turned out in the end. I ended up singing my own background vocals for the first time, and I'd never thought I'd ever do that, but now I do it all the time. So it's just,
but those initial stages, that creativity that you start with, and it's quite magical, isn't it? Yeah. It's quite a magical journey and a process where you start off, when you first hear your own song recorded, it's like, wow. But, as time goes on, it becomes more familiar to you, but you never really forget that magic. And it's always important to keep that magic, I think.
Yes. And how proud you feel when you're like, words, like those are my words,
Yeah, and you work hard. I think that, people don't realize, in the studio, it's you put your heart and soul into what you do, and you're exposing your lyrics, your life, your feelings, your emotions to the whole world.
Yeah.
And it's scary, but when you do it and you do it right,
yeah, it's definitely a scary, because you're like thinking, I like this, but is other people like this?
Well, we do. So now we certainly do. In 2015, you released another couple of recordings, didn't you, as well? Like you said, so you reworked.
Yeah.
And, some more music came out from you in 2015, and then you opened for Lanco and for William Michael Morgan, I believe. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. A radio station back home, which that's a whole other milestone. When I was little, I grew up listening to 94.7 and 95.7, and I never dreamed that my music would ever get played on there, much less I would ever be performing at a show that they sponsored. And so I contacted them, and I was like, I have some new recordings, at this point, they're all new recordings, but, I would love if you guys are doing any shows and you need openers, let me know. And I was like, yeah, I probably won't ever hear from them, but I did. And they kept calling me, and so I got to open for Charles Kelly and William Michael Morgan. And then I did a show that opened for Lanco and Parmalee, and then one for Brooke Eden and Granger Smith. So, it
was very exciting, very nerve-wracking. How were they all? Did you get to interact with them and meet them?
Yeah, I will say I probably got to talk to Granger Smith the most. He is awesome. A new artist that's opening for bigger acts, it is, like you said, very nerve-wracking, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I say? Do I say anything? Like, and he was like, oh, girl, come on, relax, you're great, you're gonna be great. And I remember, like, we had the meet and greet, and all the fans were coming around, and they didn't know who I was, and so they were coming around to meet him, and he would stop and say, oh, do you know Brittany McLamb?
That's lovely. So inclusive. And there wasn't a divide. There was no divide there. Right. That kind of support is invaluable, isn't it?
Absolutely. And ever that one moment, and he did it for everybody that would come up, and if they walked past me because they didn't know who I was, he would stop them and say, oh no, have you met her? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like he was treating me like I was his little sister, and like, no, you gotta meet her too.
That's gorgeous, and that's the kind of support that is so important in the industry. There's no hierarchy. There shouldn't be a hierarchy. We all started somewhere. Everyone starts somewhere,
Yeah.
So you brought out "Crushing on You."
Yes.
And that's another one of your singles as well. How well did that do?
It did good, and it's one of those things where, I don't know, I guess I have all these high hopes for every single, and you want it to reach all these milestones, but really and honestly, just getting the music out there is a milestone in itself. And I wrote a lot of these songs right back to back, and so I kind of released them. I think I had released 2 a year, and then I went a little while before I released this last one, and that was part of that whole group of songs that I had written. And the guy who produced and mixed and mastered all these songs, he actually was in my band. So yeah, he has his own studio or recording studio now, and so just hearing like how they all turned out, I told him, the sound I was looking for, and he's like, I got it. And he did. And so
working relationship is awesome, right? When you get each other.
Right.
So you obviously have that, and that's fantastic. Did you write Wanted with him as well?
No. I wrote, I wrote Lose It, Crushing on You, and Wanted with my good buddies, Andrew Beeson and Jonathan Dean. And then I wrote Playing with Fire and I Like Where This Is Going, which was back, I think, in 2016. I wrote those 2 with my cousin, Lauren McLamb, who's also a singer-songwriter, and another musician friend of mine, Philip Howard. So I tend to kind of stay in the same writing circles.
Yeah, well, most people do, because, again, when you write with people, you have to have that bond in a way, that comfortability that I know co-writes and collabs are, they're happening more than ever, especially during lockdown, and especially over, these sort of, Skypes and video chats, and people are doing that. However, it takes a long time to get that comfortable energy where you're in a room with somebody and you can just bang something out and say, I'm going to play this, or I think this, and you don't feel crazy doing it because they get it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like that comfort level, or that it's
a relationship. You have to build it.
Yeah. And I need to venture out and try the whole Zoom right, but I'm like you said, I'm one of those, like, I like being in the room.
We all want to be in the same room with somebody and have a cup of tea and a few drinks. Yeah. This is it's not quite the same, but it's the best that we got, so we use it for now. But I think it has been instrumental in creating a lot of new music and a lot of new connections and relationships. So that's a great thing. So when you brought out Wanted, that came out on June the 19th. It came out a couple of months ago. It's an absolutely awesome track, and I'm obviously really excited that following this interview, I get to play the acoustic version as an exclusive, which is just wonderful. So thank you for that, Brittany.
Yes,
but how where do you go from here? What's your next plans? Do you have an EP, an album? Where does Brittany go next?
Well, so when I was talking about branching out and writing, that is definitely at the top of my list of things to do because I want some new music. And the plan is to be putting out an EP for 2021. So that is definitely top priority on my list right now. And I may or may not be going to be working on a Christmas tune. So,
oh, a Christmas track. Oh, we love it.
It's my first one ever. I've never put out a Christmas song, and Christmas is my favorite holiday. So I'm like completely pumped about it. Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting. That's really exciting. We'll look forward to that for certain. So, EP is coming out hopefully next year when life resumes. When life resumes.
Right. Yes.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Well, that's really, really exciting, Brittany. We can't wait to hear it. So, it's been lovely, lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. We've learned loads more about you today. And we'll be playing out the exclusive acoustic version of Wanted and look forward to hearing from you soon. And hopefully you get over to the UK at some point as well.
Yeah. Well, I have a trip planned at the end of September. So hopefully that doesn't get canceled.
Oh, wow. Well, let us know. We'd let look up for that beer.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Brittany. Thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you over in Nashville and here in London. And we will look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, darling. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, guys. It's Jess T on countryradio.uk. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and know that there will be plenty more music videos, live exclusives and performances from country music artists across the UK and beyond.